Hello and a very warm welcome to Amhara Media Corporation. This is our daily news live from the studio. I am Gaila Damu. Stay tuned. According to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, some Western countries and the media have a distorted view on the current situation of Ethiopia. Brown Workana reports.
Briefing the media yesterday, Foreign Affairs spokesperson Dina Mufti said some Western countries and the media have biased and discriminatory attitudes intended to protect their interests. He stated that the countries supporting the terrorist group are not acting in ignorance of the Ethiopian issue but because of their interests and hypocrisy. Dina underlined, in the face of this, Ethiopians must stand together in unison for the survival of their country. Reviewing the major activities of the ministry, the spokesperson said Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen had a telephone conversation with Slovenia Foreign Affairs Minister Anzi Loga. Demeke briefed Loga on the current situation in the northern part of Ethiopia and the efforts by the Ethiopian government to deliver humanitarian support to Tigray as well as in Amhara and Afar regions. The Deputy Prime Minister told Loga the terrorist group has been obstructing the delivery of humanitarian assistance by hijacking over 420 trucks that enter Tigray region to deliver aid for military purposes. The terrorist group is still using the trucks for some purpose. Demeke also noted that the recent resolution by the EU Parliament is unacceptable because it is unjustified and biased that overlooked factors on the ground, Dina said. Speaking about the airstrikes on Mekelle, the spokesperson stressed that the strikes did not target innocent civilians but military installations and weaponry. Ethiopia Current Fact Check reported yesterday that, contrary to the misrepresentation, the airstrike specifically targeted TPLF arms production and armament repair sites. The surgical operations are aimed at destroying illegal caches of heavy weaponry and armaments at selected sites that the terrorist organization has turned into military facilities.
An economist said the recent unjust report of the International Monetary Fund (IMF) on Ethiopia's economic growth is a clear manifestation of the well-coordinated pressures on the country. Iyayu Melesa has the details.
Despite being one of the founders of the United Nations and a symbol of African independence, the international institutions including the UN are recently undermining and denying Ethiopia's long-term contributions. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) has not released GDP growth forecast for Ethiopia in its latest World Economic Outlook for the next 4 years. The recent report of the IMF on Ethiopia is part of the coordinated pressure on the nation by withholding the country's GDP growth forecast. Addis Ababa University economics lecturer Birhanu Dennu told Ethiopian news agency that the report on Ethiopia is not based on facts on the ground. He noted the decision to withhold Ethiopia's economic forecast clearly shows how a country's economic relations and activities are being decided based only on the political interest of the West. The economist cited the commitment of the government to transform the nation's economy by prioritizing and boosting foreign direct investment in its 10-year development plan, adding that such decisions by the IMF targets to negatively impact the country's ambition. Birhanu elaborated that despite the conflict in the northern parts of the country, which is used as excuse by the fund, the whole nation is not in war, so the explanation is totally unacceptable. He stated rather than withholding the growth forecast, IMF should have provided consultations and ways on what should the country do to sustain its economic growth despite the challenges faced. He finally urged the government to understand the situation and work hard to promote the nation's economic opportunities to the international community by exposing the unjust pressure of some Western actors.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Dina Mufti said yesterday any attempt that affects the sovereignty and national security of Ethiopia is a red line. Rahmet Adam has the report.
Responding to a question raised about the joint military training being conducted by Egypt and Sudan during his weekly media briefing, Egyptian-Sudanese military exercises can be conducted as long as they do not target Ethiopian national security. As two sovereign states, the countries have the right to conduct any joint operations or even merge. Dean underscored, as long as the military exercise does not affect Ethiopian sovereignty and Ethiopian security, Ethiopia will not be worried. Dina added that a country must first be stable to have a military agreement. However, Sudan is holding joint military training at a time when it lost its port and is using Egypt's port. Dina explained that the port of Sudan is idle and the capital city in chaos. Egyptian and Sudanese armed forces have started on Tuesday joint drills in northern Egypt. The joint military exercise is held at Mohammed Nagubi military base in the Mediterranean province of Matruh and will continue until October 29, 2021.
A political analyst said the interference of Egypt in the internal affairs of Ethiopia through various ways violates the international principles that obliges nations to respect sovereignty of other nations. Ababa Burhani tells us more.
A recent report by Reuters news agency quoted an Egyptian security source as saying that Cairo has asked the United States and some European countries to help it freeze the sale of drones reportedly made between Turkey and Ethiopia, a deal that has never been confirmed by both nations. In an exclusive interview with the Ethiopian news agency, the political analyst Mohammed Al-Arousi said the report could be taken as one of the indications that demonstrates Egypt's desire to weaken and destabilize Ethiopia by meddling in the internal affairs of the country. He underscored that even if the deal was real, Ethiopia has the full right to make any kinds of deal with other countries which it thinks are best to ensure its national interest. According to him, the attempts being made by the government officials in Egypt is therefore against the sovereign right of Ethiopia, adding that even if the deal is real, the request made by the Egyptian security officials violates the rights of a sovereign country to strengthen its defense system. Ethiopia has the full right to make deals with other countries for the benefit of its people. Mohammed further elaborated that the subsequent governments in Egypt have long been meddling in the internal affairs of Ethiopia with a view to meeting their interests in the region by weakening the East African nation. The analyst revealed that the various governments in Egypt had attempted to weaken Ethiopia by several means, including the blocking of the fund for development projects such as the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and other major projects in the country. The political analyst pointed out that the pressure on Ethiopia to stop the construction of the dam is not because it constitutes harm and instability in the region, but because Ethiopia will grow and prosper and become a political economic power in the African continent. However, Mohammed stressed that Ethiopia has the right to use its resources and develop by confronting Egyptian interference. The political analyst called on the government in Egypt to refrain from such destructive acts as it would not be beneficial to the entire region and damage Egypt's reputation in the international fora. He underscored that the best way to the people in the three countries is cooperation and collaboration. Mohammed stated that he thinks Ethiopia needs Egypt and Sudan to be part of its development endeavors. Mohammed underscored that, though Ethiopia has been reiterating that the dam would never harm any of the riparian countries, including Egypt, the government of Egypt has been busy distracting the construction by politicizing and internationalizing the dispute.
You're watching Amhara Media Corporation, Amhara TV News, and now let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate and Karat rate. That's all the news we have for today. I am Gaila Damu. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of our programs.